experimental course, not the regular course. I don't know how many times I can offer this course. Then we have actually the regular course, data mining. So data mining can be used for data analytics in the big data system, which is good for. This is not only for the big data, but I'm going to focus on the data analytics for big data. At that time, we can talk about some data analysis technique, as well as the application, including R, not SAS. SAS will not be discussed in this class because this is not a business school. Okay? And definitely mining techniques. So if you are interested in the big data, this series of courses are very helpful. Okay? If you do not know anything about the big data, this is a good introductory the presentation this afternoon. Also, I'm going to use the Prezi for presentation. How many of you have used the Prezi for your presentation? Prezi? Have you ever used? Why don't you try? First time is fun, okay? And second time is more headache because you need to design the movement. But after you finish it, it's much better feeling than the PPT file. Okay? After this one. Kind of animation, but if you actually, this is one page. You can see actually all presentation files are in one page. It's kind of zoom in and zoom out. Okay. Next week, we will have the exercise lab for SQL. To perform the practice, we need to complete today's lecture in time. Okay? So we are going to discuss about the syntax of SQL. If you wanna learn the old syntax of the SQL, from the query language, it will take several months, several years, just like the other foreign languages. You don't have to memorize and learn everything. Instead, whenever you need, after you understand the fundamental of the SQL language, so whenever you need, you should be able to refer or look up the syntax reference book. Okay? Do you use the Java, or you never use the? Do you memorize all API, Java API? No, you don't have to. Okay? Just like you don't have to memorize the whole syntax. How? The good news is you already learned such a fundamental basic of the SQL where? Relational algebra. So relational algebra and relational algebra expression is almost the same. Not exactly the same, almost the same. So we will see how to use the SQL. And after this class, so next week, you will practice how to use the SQL using Oracle database. At the time, from this, in this class, we are going to focus on the SQL 2 standard, okay, which is the major part of the SQL throughout the relational database management system. Okay? Then additional feature for some trigger or assumption and something like that. Also, for the DBMS, we will use the Oracle database. That doesn't mean that I'm a big fan of Oracle. No. The only reason I select Oracle for your practice is because of the popularity. Oracle is the most popular in the market. So if you know how to use the Oracle, then to catch up other, it's not a big deal. Okay? So basic SQL, so I already explained. So we need a schema, so you can create the schema, or if you do not create the schema, your username will be automatically schema name. Because then within a schema, you can create any database object, table, index, whatever. Okay. Otherwise, if we want to access the table in other schema, other property, yours, you should have permission to access, to manipulate, to update, proper permission you should get before. Okay, then you can access the data. Okay, so first table, okay, most of the database languages can be classified into two data manipulation language, data definition language. Using data definition language, you can create, okay? Create any object and modify the object, which is alter in relational database. Instead of modify, so the command do not add y, okay? The standard group, they determine that they are going to use the alter command to modify the structure. Okay, or delete. Not delete, instead of delete, we are using drop. Okay? So this is the data definition language. And data manipulation language is for update. For delete. To insert, yes, insert. It's very straightforward. Okay? This command will be used. In addition to data definition and manipulation language, we have one more. The language type 1 group, data control language. As I mentioned just before, to access your table, I should have the permission. How can she give the permission to me? At that time, you need the command that is a grant or revoke. Revoke is taking out the permission. So, three main groups. So first, we should know how to create the table. Then we can insert, update, select, retrieve the data. It's very straightforward. Create table department. Create table is a reserved word. As I said, it's not case-sensitive table, which means you can create table. Doesn't matter. Okay? So, but usually the reserved word is based on the capital letter. There's no reason. Then name. Whatever the name. So one time when I consult the small database in the very small company, they had the Oracle database, but they didn't have any the person who is in charge of the database. So I consulted to see what's going on. At the time when I open data, open means access the database, I can see only the table name as T1, T2, T3. And column name is C1, C2, C3, something like that. Yes, it is possible. However, which is not recommended. So when you design the database in the logical modeling and high-level modeling, the naming rule is one of the important part. As long as you can understand the meaning of the table and column, that's much better. Okay? So department. So it can be also row level. And in the database, it can be stored at the capital letter, but that doesn't mean it's a case sensitive. Okay? Then parenthesis and semicolon. Semicolon means the end of any SQL statement. Because it's an interpreter kind of the script languages. So when you submit, so then enter means semicolon, enter means submit your query to the DBMS engine. Then in the DBMS engine, query processor will process your data, your query. How to process, we will learn near soon. Then inside, so you can specify a number of column. Also, column name is not case sensitive. It can be D name. It's exactly same name. Then white character like the space, what tab, separate. In addition to the column name, there is a type. I'm going to explain a little bit more about the data type using the relational database model SQL later. So this is the column. But intuitively, you can understand. This might be character. This might be integer number. This might be character, 90, something like that. And also, if you have any constraint, you can specify in addition to the name and type. This is not required, but these two parts is required. Okay, mandatory. So you can column actually like this. Or if you have constraint and column will be the eliminator of the column by column. The last one, definitely there's no comma, so you can understand the syntax of this one. So we are going to create a department table. How many column? 4 column. Okay? Dname has the variable character 10. We don't know what it is yet. We will see later. And it's a non-null constraint, which means when you insert the data, you should specify at least the dname and at least the d number. But manager social security number and manager start date can be null data without value. Okay, that's it. Yes.
We usually put in SQL it's integer int, but in our Oracle we have to put all the
Integer or int can be automatically converted to the integer. So it's a little bit smarter. They can understand. We will see details about it. Okay, good question. You can create a table. So, but you have the Oracle account and password, right? So using that Oracle username and password, right now you should be able to locate Oracle database at UV. And then try. You can create it. It's your table. Okay. Is that the or? No. We have learned more constraint, primary key, foreign key, not none. Somebody said check constraint. And there are many other constraints. That constraint, there are different ways to specify. When you create the table, first one, you can specify any constraint with a column, like this one. This is one way. Another one is after the end of the column, you can specify the constraint, primary key. So what is the primary key column? D number. And unique, what is the unique? Unique is almost the same as a primary key, but which is not selected. It's a secondary key. So it allows the null data, but it should be unique, almost the same. So foreign key, you know, the manager social security number, reference, social security number in EMP table. Okay? So if we want to put the primary key over here, yes, there is a way. So this, the one way is here, another one is the end of the column. Third one is after you create the table without constraint like this, you can add table, which means you can modify the structure by including the primary key or other constraint. Also, if you realize there's a mistake, you can drop primary key using alter command like that. Details, you can go to the SQL reference book for each DBMS. Okay, Oracle provides their SQL reference. Information provider and the DB to provider. Or you can go to the Google, find the standard, SQL standard, or huge, I think more than 10,000 websites that they provide how to learn such a SQL, something like that, okay? But don't try to memorize everything, just basic, is enough. Okay? So let's understand this one. So foreign key, manager social security number, there's a manager social security number, should exist in the social security number and EMP. So there might be no problem, so I'd like to learn this command in SQL application, in Oracle database. Do you think it's okay or not? Any error? When you run this one, can you find any problem? It will be okay. This, not okay, there might be problem. I like in the middle. No problem. In terms of syntax, there is no problem. However, when you run this one, simply copy and paste. You cannot create table. Yes. Employee table should be created first. This one, there's no problem, you can create right away. However, this one, you first create the EFP table first and the department. That's one common mistake for those who are learning the SQL first time. I type exactly same thing but cannot create. You will get the error message. There is no existing EMP or accessor. Okay, data type. So, data types used in relational database model probably include most of the data type used in the program language. So basically, it consists of the number and character. Numeric, it can be integer, int, float, decimal, and even number. Okay. Also, you can specify the precision if you want. So usually, if you have 9,2 total 9 digits and 2 row decimal point, and it will be the round up from the 1,000. Like that. Okay, then any difference? Integer and number. Number actually include most of it. Depends on the data. Okay, integer probably is a different precision than the float, but the number is automatically decided by this precision level. And character, we have the character, and it's an n byte of character. What about the C language? Other program languages. Which one is the first program language that you learn? C? Good. Was it easy to learn? So I learned the first time the basic program language. It's called the GW basic. It's 30, almost 4 years old. Not 4 years old. So it's 5 years. I learned the 13 years old. So I think that's almost 30 years old. Although at the time GW basic, it was not a problem to use such a basic language. But when I learned the C language the first time, I think it was a freshman. First time was very nice. I can compile and run. But the first obstacle of learning the C language was character. Is there any data type for character in C language? Actually, no. Okay, is that pointer? Is that array? So pointer, without understanding the pointer, it's very hard to learn the C language. So that is the first obstacle. If you cannot overcome the pointer, you give up, then you will be big fan of object-oriented language because you don't have to worry about the pointer. But inside, they use it. But what about the database? They know when they develop the language, they understand there's such a problem, so they simply define character and why. That's it. Even there are a lot of functions to handle string character data. Who is it? What about in C program language? Is there any function to concatenate? strcat function, but it's very hard. You should know all the pointer. Okay, subtract, there's no function you should implement by yourself. But here, there uses most of the command function to handle string data, as you can imagine. Okay. By the way, we can see character, VAR character, VAR character 2. Anyone who knows the difference? What does it mean, VAR?
Means variable size.
Variable. Okay. Variable means when you create the character 9, okay? No matter what size of data you insert, like for example lead, 2 character n, it will allocate the 9 byte, then use first 3 byte. The other 6 will be none. Okay, no data. But in C program, what did you do? You should have null to specify the end of character. But here you don't have to but. When you are using the character n, it will allocate the fixed size of byte. Why? On the other hand, variable character n is kind of maximum length, which means first we define variable character 9. So if you insert the same lead, it will allocate only 3 bytes. Next time I update list, then add 1 more byte. So you can save the space. Then we have 2. What's the difference? Anyone who knows? I like the good. This is called subtitle. Not variable character instead of varchar. Okay? I don't know why. So S, we can pronounce as it is, varchar. Variable character, it doesn't matter. Yes. Then, what's the difference between varchar and varchar 2?
Size,
Kind of
like the double and
version, right? So why don't you take find the difference between variable character and variable character 2, okay? After class. Then it's not homework. I will ask the answer next time. Okay. Okay. Then in addition to number and character, is called the bit string. Using the LOB. LOB is used in the object. It's a for large object. It's a kind of log. It's a large object. So binary log and character log, something like that, which is not frequently used. Why? Relational database model fit to only alphanumeric data when it was proposed. It's not good for binary data. It's not good for object. It's not good for streaming data. However, because of the huge demand on such a bit string, they intentionally create the data type, but it doesn't work very well. It's not convenient. Okay. For example, I'd like to create the column of employee for picture, photo. Okay. At the time, what will be the data type? You can use the bit-string data. However, to insert, update, delete the data is not very easy. Instead, you can save the image in the file system. Then you can save the link, full path of the file in the column. That's another thing. Also, we have the Boolean. Boolean is true or false. Right? In addition to true or false, we have another data value that is none. Okay? Because none is kind of constraint to address the problem of the missing data. So we create such a null value. Null means doesn't exist. So we cannot compare. For example, name is nothing. No, there's no way to compare such a data. Instead, it has null one. We will see detail. Also, date and time. One of the, I think the project in my C language class was to implement a function of leap year. Have you ever did? Leap year. How to compute the leap year? What is the definition of the leap year? Every 4 years, okay? Like the Olympics. When is the Olympics? The Summer Olympics. Is it 2016 in Brazil, I think. Okay? That should be the leap year. So we have one more day in February. Always? No. Every 100 years, there's no leap year. Okay? That's it? No. Every 400 years you will have. Every 1600 years, no. It's a kind of a sequence. Okay? So it's not easy to implement all of such a thing in the function, but that is good the project, programming project in C program language. So database, relational database support such a date and time data type, also function to compute the period in between, how many days, how many hours, okay, how many the seconds, something like that. Okay. Also, like object-oriented concept, you can create your own data type, user-defined data type, which was not in the first, the relational model, but on demand, the people add such a user-defined data type as a function. Kind of function, we will see later. Okay, so after you create the table, you can drop the table. At the drop table is a reservoir and table name. Sometimes, if data table is not empty, you cannot drop the table. Then you should specify the additional command option, like the cascade option. Can we modify the structure of the table? Yes, using alter command. Not modify, alter table and table name, add column, drop column. Actually, add and drop column is not simple. The command causes sometimes a problem because it changes the data structure. So you should be careful. So sometimes I recommend to not use add column or drop column. Instead, back up the data, add the drop table, then recreate and insert the data instead of this. Okay. So this is the details. More details of the creating table command. It's the same thing except that this part. Okay. Foreign key manager social security number reference EMP. First, there's no social security number unlike the previous one. What does that mean? Is it different or the same? It's the same. Because it's the primary key of this one. Reference column should be identified. In other words, it should be unique. Okay, and non-null. What does that mean? Unique and non-null. It's a primary key. So the reference key column should be primary key. So if you omit the name of the column, it's automatically primary. So no problem. Then on delete, set default, on update, cascade. On means, for example, what if? So manager social security number, refer social security number on EMP. That works. What if? This one is actually retired. So we delete the employee 111. What happened? Foreign key here. Delete. We should give the option. How can handle it? In case something happened here. Reference column. On delete. On delete of the reference data, set default, which means we can provide the default value. This is default, for example, 0, 0. Just like that. So in case this one is deleted, you can set default. Or also, in case this one is wrong, so I update 112. There's no 111. What can I do? Cascade. Cascade means, see, you can change corresponding. Okay? Consequently, you can change, which means automatically changing referencing data. That is the on update cascade. We have another example of such things. Reference on delete, set default, on update cascade. What about this one? Super SSN refer, EMP SSN. On delete, send none, which means in case SSN is deleted, we can set the value as none. On update, cascade. In case updated, follow that update. Okay? Why do we need such a thing? To keep integrity. Okay? The core, most important part of the relational model is data integrity, because we actually separate all the table, all the data. Like that, this is a student only, this is an instructor only. So everywhere, this is divided without redundant information. So keeping such a data integrity is very, very important. If they are in the same table, it's not very difficult to manage such a data integrity. However, in case scatter, it's not easy. So if we do not have such a thing, how can we manage data integrity? You need to do manually. Manual means on your program, post program. Okay, you need to check such a thing. Okay, this is an example of creating tables in company database. Okay, like this one. Pretty much I explained most of the thing here, but if you take a look at the reference book, full syntax of the creating table, maybe 3-page or 4-page long. Okay, there are more and more options you see on this sequence. Okay. So I already explained about the date and time timestamp. It's well implemented in the SQL Server. You can create it. There are several functions like the interval. So you don't have to manually calculate the period. You don't have to worry about the leap year. So automatically compute the number of days. Okay, then after you create, we should be able to access the data. How? We already explained. Select from where? Where is the option? So select and from is a mandatory clauses. So at least you should have select from, which means column and table. So we can select the data. This actually from relational algebra. Select and join and subselecting. Are they same? Almost the same, but not exactly the same. One of the different things between select and relational algebra is relational algebra input and output are relation set. Set means it should be unique, primary key. Okay, there's no duplicate data. However, select is not a set. It's called a map. Map means it doesn't matter whether you have duplicate data or not when you return the data using sequence. So for example, output is 1, 1, 1. Yes, it's possible. But here, if you still retrieve the data using relational algebra, it will return only 1. That's the difference. So let's mention here. So multi-step or that in SQL. So when you are using the SQL, don't worry, the duplicate data. But if you want unique data, removing the duplicate data, there is an option oversee. So as we have seen before, select. It's a very relevant process. Select from very straightforward. Okay, we are going to use this populated database for company. And let's use the example. Retrieve the birth date and the address of employee whose name is John D. Smith. We have done in relational algebra, actually. Relational algebra, this is from employee. Whose first name is John and middle name initial B, and the last name is Smith. Then retrieve project B date and address. It will be result. You can convert the list of column go to select and the number, the relation go to from, and this select condition over here. And finally, semicolon. One important thing is when you are using single quote or double quote, quotation mark, this means it's the data itself, not the result word, not the table name, not the column name. So definitely this is a case sensitive. So this is different. So you should be careful. The only case sensitive in relational database, the SQL is data, even quoted data. Okay.
But syntax can be, it's not cases, right?
No.
It's like-
All the other, it can be lower letter or capital letter, but the data is there. Especially the single quote or double quote. Any difference between the single quote, double quotation? No, no difference. The next, retrieve the name and address of all employees who works for research department. We did in the relational algebra. It's the same thing. So we can get the such a data from employee and department. Then first name, last name, and address. And what is the condition? We have, you need to find join condition and select condition. How many join condition do you need? Two tables means one join condition. And any select condition, yes, research. The name is research. Then don't forget semicolon. That's it. Yes.
In SQL, like the group by condition need to be select condition at first.
Group by,
Yeah.
we do not learn the group by yet. We will learn the later. Okay, this is a simple query. I have one question. Employee, comma, department. What about department, comma, employee? Any difference? No.
In that
Yeah. Output? Same? Different? If that's okay, probably I'm not going to ask you. Something different. The output itself are not different. Okay? But performance. Okay? Performance may be different, which means it may take 0.1 second. It will take 1 hour sometimes. The reason is that any query processor would like to access the last table first, department, then employee. Okay? In this case, employee first, department. Think about we have extreme case. 10 millions of employees with one department. So I'd like to find such a query, such a employee. Which one will be better? Access department first, one department, there's no problem. Then find the employee who belongs to this department. Or check 1 million employee, then access department. Department first. Actually, it's not such an easy, but simply access the small table first, then large table will be better performance. Okay? Intuitively. We will see why later. So performance may be different depending on the order of tables. But in this class, I'm not going to consider such a difference. So, but sometimes you may not realize until you have real data. When you create test of your database, it's okay. But after you launch, apply your system to the real production, you may realize such a, it comes to such a problem. Yes?
How can I know this is data is capital letter or small letter. They want to research about research.
This one?
Yeah. How can I be able to apply?
Who inserted such a data? So you should know. The data is research or research. Your question is how do I know?
Yeah.
So because you are the owner of this table, this data. If not, you need to access all the data first. Okay? Right?
One question.
Yes.
Is there any way for a drag and drop, like to create table? Do we have to always code that, write code for that? All the time?
Drag and drop what?
Like create table.
Create.
Like in SQL, we have the option for drag and drop, create table, right click, select the table.
So you mean the interface?
Yeah.
Yes. So that's a good question. We are not discussing about the different interface here. Okay, but that's a good question. How do we access such a data? It depends on DBMS system. Some of the DBMS, like the Informix, provide menu-driven approach user interface, which means select. There is a menu list of tables. You can select employee. Then, do you have any table that you want to join? No. Then select the column, something like that. Some of them are just command line interface, like the Oracle SQL Plus. Some of them are web interface. So it's a web form. So you can select. But it depends on DBMS. Here, user interface is not very important. Instead, you should add, even though no matter what types of interface you use, eventually they will use such a SQL structure, either select from where. Next. Okay, this is another query. For every project located in Stafford, okay, list the project number, controlling department number, the department manager last name, address, and birthday. We need to access first the project, also controlling department and employee, right? So how many tables? 3 tables. So which means how many join? 2 join. So 2 join condition is a D num and D number and manager social security number and social security number that join these 2 tables like that, and Stafford is the select condition and this is the column. That's it. Because you already understand how to create the relational algebra. So I don't have to explain on it. The more example, if you want a more example, why don't you go to the textbook. Textbook provides more certainty. Also, during the exercise lab next week, you will test by yourself. Okay. However, sometimes it's not easy to recognize which name is which name. Okay? So even in this case, it's okay, D name and the L name. What if both of them use name? How can I differentiate which name, which table is the owner of them? You can use I.A notation in relational algebra. R table name dot column name. Okay? So which means you can E dot, what is E here? Employee dot super SSA. Employee is too long. Can we simplify? At that time you can use aliases. Alias means it's a kind of nickname. Can you remember? Rename and rename operation. So rename operation is implemented as aliases, which means employee is E and space S, which means employee E, employee S. There is sometimes S. You can remove S. It's an option. Okay? So we have 2 tables actually. Employee. There are 2 tables for employee. Okay, one is employee, another one is supervisor employee. Okay, so E dot super SSN equal S dot SSN. What does it mean? It's a join condition. Why? We have 2 employee tables. One is for employee, another one is for supervisor supervisor, employee. Okay? So super SSN should refer to SSN in the supervisor SSN. So E dot super SSN is equal to S dot SSN. Then E dot F name is an employee first name. S dot first name is supervisor's first name. Even if you think this is too long, you can rename like the E dot F name as EF. You can simplify the name like the row operation that you learn in relational algebra. Okay, so this is another example. It's the same as the previous slide. So as you can see, employee as E, employee as S, same aliases. Alias is very useful tool. Okay, the final output will follow these aliases if you have. What if we do not have anywhere, you see error? No, it will return all SSN. What about duplication, redundant? Does it allow the redundant information? Yes. In SQL, yes. However, in this case, probably not. Why? SSN is binary. What if I don't want the duplicate data even in SQL? You can specify distinct. Select distinct SSN. Automatically remove redundant data, but you should be careful to use such a distinct option. Why?
Sometimes there is duplicate data.
Yeah, so duplicate data will be removed. So if you need the duplicate data, yes, you can not use this one. But when you use, I can see a lot of the application that automatically put distinct option like the SQL server. If you are using some of the .NET environment, they automatically suggest SQL. Then distinct is the default option sometimes. But you should be careful in real production. Why? Sorting. When you have the 10 or 20 data, it doesn't matter. But when you have 1 million of employees, it will sort 1 million of data to identify the duplicate data. It will take her much longer time than this. Okay? So should be careful. What about the multiple table without where clause? Does it cause the error? No.
Yes.
Yes?
Yes.
So in this case, we should have one join condition. What if no join condition like this? It's not the error. Instead, Cartesian. So it will return all combination between employee and department. Not default without joining condition, it will retrieve Cartesian product. Okay? Like this one. It's not the error, it will retrieve all SSN and DNAME combination. So, what if I don't want to duplicate information? You can put a distinct option, but be careful. That requires the sorting. What about the set operation? Yes, you can use the set operation like this kind of example. You can go over, then you probably can understand the meaning of this one. So, should be type comparable to use the set operation, which means type comparable does not mean the same name of data. Even sometimes their data type can be different. But it can be, should be automatically changing. Like for example, this is a character, this is the variable character. At that time, even though their data types are different, it can be considered as a type comparable. Okay? So, what if we have the P name and the P and O? It will be error because you have only one column over here, two columns. It's not type comparable. Also, one more important thing is when you union, for example, output of this one is the project A. Output of this one is a project A. What will be the output? It's a PA or PA.
BA.
1, 2.
1.
So 2. Little complicated. The set operation in sequence, okay? That's not. No, I'm sorry. Does not allow duplicate data. Okay? So automatically remove the duplicate data, unlike the select. What if you want a PAPA?
Union all.
You can add or. That's the difference, union and union or. So this is my way to differentiate it. Union return all the data. Then there's union or. Okay. You can test. Sometimes you can put query inside query, which means so to retrieve the name and address of all employee works for research department. We have made a lot of time for this.